This is Christopher and Katherine, your favorite 401 couple, and today we're excited to welcome Michael Kirschman. Michael is the co-founder and CEO of Plan Notice, based in New Orleans, which you might notice. Before he even set foot in the retirement industry, he spent 15 years running the Kirschman Furniture, his family's 80-year-old business, growing it roughly to $100 million in revenue across 13 locations and more than 400 employees. That experience running a large, complex organization gave him a lens that most people in this industry just simply don't have.
Yeah, and you know what my takeaway from that was?
What?
Oh, that explains the car collection. That's the first place I went to.
That's your takeaway.
That's my takeaway.
We're talking about the analytics of what it takes to run.
That explains the car collection. Okay. Keep going.
He eventually moved into wealth advisory and from there founded Plan Notice to solve a problem he kept seeing. Retirement plan notices are a compliance obligation that most plans handle badly or barely at all. Today, we're talking about the fiduciary risk hiding in plain sight, plan notices, missing participants, and what most plans are getting wrong. So,
pass it on to me, babe.
So Christopher is super excited because there's a special treat. It's in his hand. What did Michael choose, Christopher?
So part of our shtick is that the guest for the 401 Couple podcast gets to pick the treat. Now, I had always thought that our personal family motto for my version of the Tippers was, when over the top is not enough. Okay? Until I met Michael. Michael chose king cake. He did not just have us go and get a slice of king cake, which is probably not available in the summer in the Chicago area anyway. No. But he sent us a king cake, the whole thing. And beads. Okay. And there's doubloons or something like that around here somewhere.
So he's up to the game.
He's up the game substantially. I feel sorry for the next guy. So, Michael, obviously, other than the fact you're giving me a great chuckle, why king cake?
Well, I embrace my New Orleans heritage. I am born and bred here in New Orleans and have spent just about my entire life here. And so whenever I get a chance to represent, I represent. And, as I mentioned, there's nothing more New Orleans than a king cake. We are not technically in king cake season, so it is even harder to find it right now.
I can imagine. Right.
We're not like somebody down near you is not going to be sticking voodoo doll pins in us for eating this out of season, are they?
No. There's no bad luck to it. It's just you just can't find them on every corner like you can when we're in the midst of Mardi Gras. But it is always a fun treat. And I do think I sent you one that had filling in it, which makes it even more of a fun treat.
It definitely does.
Are we bringing this to your dad's 90th this evening?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. So
there you go. That's good. Okay. Spread the joy.
We will definitely be doing that. So you've gotten these in advance. Okay.
I did.
This is the question from our last guest. If you had the chance to go to space, presuming you haven't already been there, would you? Why or why not?
The answer to that question politically is that I think going to space would be great. I would definitely do it. I have a part of my background is growing up, I debated. And when I debated in high school, one of the topics, one of my years, I think it was sophomore year, was space exploration. So I spent a lot of time learning about it then. And one of the concepts that I always thought was interesting was what they called the overview effect, which is the idea of when you're in space and you look back on Earth, it looks so peaceful and pristine. And supposedly it's the ultimate feeling of perfection. So I think that could be really cool. Now, the flip side of it is my wife is pretty conservative, and I do not think she would go to space. So we would have a big internal discussion over if me going to space was allowed or not.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. All right. What's one belief? Now, obviously, do you remember you get to ask the next guy a question? So that's later on. What's one belief about retirement success that you strongly disagree with?
I disagree with retirement calculations or the retirement. Um, I just lost the word. The calculators in general,
Okay.
because I think one of the mistakes that people make when it comes to planning for the future is determining. And I know this is a word overused in today's world, but what is enough for you? And I think determining enough is a complicated feature and can't be figured out on a retirement calculator. So that's one of my fallacies with retirement planning is we say replace your income. Well, I don't know if that's what is really what you need or not.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yep. It's too reductive. So,
Oh, good word, dear.
um,
You've
so
earned another slice of cake.
sure. I ate it right away.
Yeah.
I thought it
I'm
was
trying to
lovely.
parse it out and pretend it lasts the whole
It's
episode.
big. I'm happy. So, okay. So, what do you think the biggest misconception about plan notices or participant communications that you hear from plan sponsors or advisors? What are they missing?
I think the biggest miss is that people believe that the record keepers are taking this responsibility. And and they think that just because the record keepers say, yeah, we send notices, that the problem is solved.
Yeah.
And, I don't think that especially plan sponsors take enough time to read the record keeper contracts to understand A, what they do, and B, what they're responsible for. So I think that's the biggest misconception when it comes to noticing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now then, I'm wondering if I'm going to guess this one right, but probably not. A hobby or fun fact people would be surprised or not surprised to learn about you.
I thought about this one, and I have a couple of them. Fun facts or hobbies about me. So the first one that a lot of people in the industry have learned is that I have a real, I have a real fetish for glasses. So we all know that I have every color and every
I
shape and
really thought we'd
size.
be on the fourth pair by now, Michael.
Yeah, I haven't switched.
Minutes.
I can switch as we go. So I have,
There we go.
we can
There
we'll
we
go to
go.
yellow. We'll
That's
go to
my. There we go, Michael.
so so I'll have a lot of glasses. So that is definitely one fact about me that people should know. Now, one other one that I think is really odd is that I was once asked the question of, if there was ever an Olympic event that you could win a gold medal in, what would it be? And I'm going to tell you that I can get every last minuscule amount of toothpaste out of a toothpaste tube. There's a lot of things in this world that I'm cheap about, but one of them is definitely toothpaste. My wife hands me her toothpaste tubes when they're almost finished and gives them to me to finish them off because I will squeeze every bit out of
And you get
it.
another 6 months out of them, huh?
That's exactly right. And that's pure accomplishment when that toothpaste tube is completely empty.
All right.
You don't turn it inside out or anything, do you?
No, I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I haven't cut it open or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm just
All right.
okay.
So now then into the supposed meat of it. Well, everybody has to remember who, especially if you're watching or listening to us for the very first time, is that my motives for having guests on are very selfish because I want to understand more. And I don't remember how long it's been since I've known Michael, but I've been struggling with the furniture to fiduciary transition. Okay. So, segment one, from furniture to fiduciary, a most unconventional path. You spent 15 years running a large family business, which by itself is, a chore or a trial or whatever you want to call it,
You
or a
could call
very
it an
great
my,
accomplishment.
challenge.
my,
Oh yeah, I was
my
gonna.
father would 100% agree with you that running it with me was a chore.
Right. Okay. Before before moving into financial services, what did that experience teach you that you still use today?
The things I learned in the family business are they're incredibly numerous. I mean, the just the experience of working both with my grandfather and my father through my career in the furniture business, I was able to learn, all aspects of selling, all aspects of accounting, all aspects of operations, and how to do it well. I was very fortunate. My grandfather was a brilliant salesperson. He always said that he really should have been in show business more than in furniture. It just happened that his father started a furniture business, and that's how he ended up there. Um, and my father is an incredible operator. He to get a to-do list done, he is the greatest at it. So I learned amazing things there. But the real connection to how I ended up here is that my biggest passion within the furniture business and the way I grew up through our family business was in the human resource side. So it was interesting because we always worried about the politics of me being the boss's son, which is always a complication in a family business. And so after I ran a couple of our stores, we met together as a family to figure out how I could help to oversee the business without stepping on the toes of some of our management who had been there for a long period of time. And HR was the way to go because in HR, I got to touch all the people and I got to help with all the productivity and assessments and growth and hiring. And I could work with the managers. So I moved into HR and I loved HR. And I'm not a trained HR person, but I think that I'm pretty commonsensical. And I'm a big believer that HR is about common sense and treating people right. So as I spent time in HR, though, I got to get exposed to the labor attorneys. And labor attorneys scare you to death every second of the day. So that's where I learned compliance, which is so when we sold the business, when we sold our business, all of our furniture, and we were out of the furniture industry in 2010, I joined the RIA. And the unique situation with the RIA I joined was it was our family's wealth manager and our family's trusted advisor. And so when we sold the business, Trip Friedler asked me if I'd come join the company. And what I realized very quickly as being part of the RIA was that I really didn't like wealth management. It was not a something I felt that I could win. Because it was just so hard to keep up with everything and I wasn't passionate about it. But what I loved doing was working with business owners and individuals when it came to strategy and came to helping them grow their business. So I got brought in as a consultant with a lot of people on the HR side. And that's how I ended up doing benefits. Because the second you start consulting on human resources, they say, "Can you help me with these benefits? No one in my organization understands them." And I had exposure to it. So that's how I ended up in benefits. That's how I started taking over 401k plans as an advisor. And I always approached it more from an HR perspective, more from a compliance perspective, which is what led to the fiduciary aspects.
Well, which might
He landed the airplane.
Yeah, he landed the airplane and walked right into the next question. All right. So, what was the aha moment that made you say, someone needs to build this and it might as well be me?
So the story there these are green. These are very green.
Very good.
So the story there was I, you know, I always followed all of the different regulatory pieces and all of the different, all of the news blasts that all of us watch. And in 21, when the Department of Labor released their best practice for participant communication and missing participants, I I read this very short explanation that the DOL put out and said this is a game changer, that it defines that plan sponsors are now independently responsible for what we've told them they're responsible for in the past, but now it's defined in writing. And two, there's enough vagueness to this rule that the plan sponsor has to create clarity to say, how do I know that everybody's getting a notice and how do I avoid missing participants? So where it's really unique is that at that point in time, I was doing consulting for a company in the New Orleans area that supported, and I know this is going to sound very contrived, but they supported the delinquent property tax collection for municipalities. So their job was when someone didn't pay property taxes, get this, they had to locate them and send them notices and
I've
say,
seen that now. Yep.
yep, and say,
You had to
hey,
prove it. Yep.
yep, you owe money and you need to pay your property taxes. I had become very close friends with the COO of that company, who is my business partner in Plan Notice, Brian Danos. And when this reg came out, or this best practice from the DOL came out, I showed it to him and he said, Michael, we can build technology that fulfills this obligation and now not only support your plans, but we can support the industry. And where it went from there is I pulled a couple of close friends in the industry, a couple of advisors, and then a very close friend and a mentor of mine, Jeff Atwell, who's been a fiduciary in the industry for a long period of time. And Jeff is the guy who every time I had a question randomly, he answered it, no matter if it was related to a plan he worked on or not. And he said, Michael, this is needed. So that's when Brian and I built the beta level of Plan Notice. And Jeff was our first big customer. He signed up 200 plans with us when we were just in beta mode. So that's how it all came about.
Jeff Atwell's the PPP for a number of plans, right? That
He
Jeff
sure
Atwell?
is. He's I think last I talked to him, it was somewhere he was the PPP for like 90 plus peps.
Yep. Know the name.
Well,
He's on the potential invitee list. He might have just moved up.
He's a really good guy, but
Yeah.
I'm biased.
I understand that. All right. Now then, Plan Notice is still a relatively small, focused company. What has it been like building something new in an industry that tends to move slowly and stick with established vendors?
So I think that was one of the big realizations that we had to make, Brian and I, when we first started rolling out the product, was that we can't be a technology company. We have to be a service partner to administrators, advisors, record keepers. That our industry is not built around create a new application and hand it over to people and say use it. Our industry is built around creating a relationship and saying let us work together to reduce the burden. So Brian and I worked hard to build a technology that would support a task, but also to build out a team of people that either knew the industry or could learn the industry to help support the process. And that's where, we like to call ourselves a service company with great technology behind us more than a technology company. Though we have a big staff of development people, it's still a service company, and that's what I think has been key in doing this process. My team works hand in hand with all of our clients to make sure the process gets done. It's not a self-serve type of model.
Okay. Wow. So thank you. You really nice, like leading us into the next one. I'm loving it, Michael. God bless. All right. Segment 2. Plan notices. The compliance obligation most plan sponsors are getting wrong. That's the next section. Now then, if you can, give us the plain English version of what Plan Notice does and what problem it was built to solve.
Yep. So we have two products that we do. The first is our core product, what we built the business on, which is we manage, fulfill, and handle all compliance regarding noticing. So what does that mean? It means that our job is to acquire the set of participants, the participant data, scrub it to identify participants who should get noticed, send the notice, track that the notices not only were sent, but were deliverable and received by the right person. And for anyone who does not receive the notice, we have a method to go locate and find them. And we do all of that with transparent with transparent reporting in our portal so that people can see all of our activity. So that's what we do as our core model.
Now, most plan sponsors probably think of plan notices as a checkbox. Send the safe harbor notice, done. What are they actually missing, and what's the fiduciary exposure when they get it wrong?
So the complication is that is what everybody thinks is that they think that as long as I do something with the notice and hit the ball to the other side of the tennis court to the participant, I'm done, right? I've sent it out via email or I've sent it out via first class mail. The problem is that when you do that, either utilizing record keeper systems or utilizing your own method, if you don't have a way to prove that you did the work, in the case that you were ever questioned by the Department of Labor or questioned by litigators in the case that it was a negative effect on a participant, you're not going to have any method to be able to prove not only that you sent it, but that it was received by the participant. And that's the burden that the plan sponsor is required to prove. So I
Yeah,
think
okay,
that
I'm going to stop you there. Okay.
yeah.
So sorry, this is okay. Michael is now being blindsided as he switches glasses. Okay. This is not in the notes. My understanding, and I'm here to learn, okay, is that if a plan sponsor can show they mailed off X number of notices to these addresses, they're done. There's no ability to prove they've got it because they don't have to send it registered mail. They just have to know they mailed it to this address on this date to this person. Okay. They're done. But when you send it electronically, there's an expectation that you verify that the participant actually received it. Don't you see that? For me, it's a very unlevel playing field, and the expectations are not just what's a good fancy word I'm looking for? Disparate. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that the more expensive one lets everybody off the hook, although you've got to keep track of it. Whereas the inexpensive one, the email, you actually have to do more work. Am I making any sense? You want to tell me where I'm
Well,
wrong?
well, you're making sense and you're not wrong. However, there's some subtleties I think that need to be considered through each of those processes. So, first of all, on your conversation on your thoughts regarding electronic delivery, the Department of Labor has made some very clear, you know, regulations and processes regarding how you can fulfill electronically and meet compliance. There are a lot of subtleties inside of that Department of Labor rule that most plan sponsors don't pay attention to. First and foremost, you have to send a notice of electronic delivery to all participants, and that has to go out by paper. And it has to identify where you're going to send those notices, which is the primary email, if there's a secondary email, and you have to give them all of their options regarding opt out. In addition to that, as the plan sponsor, you're required to scrub the electronic data to validate that you are not sending to known poor email addresses. So if anyone opts out, you've got to manage that. If you have any bounce backs or undeliverable, emails, you have to be able to scrub for those and send paper. And the big one that no one does is you have to eliminate wired at work terminated email addresses. You have to take out a person who's no longer active with the company but still has a company domain email address, because that's probably getting forwarded to someone else in the company. And these are all little subtleties that have to get managed. And then that mail has to go by paper mail, and it has to go to an accurate address. And if that address is not deliverable, you have to be aware of it. The same exists in paper mail. While, yes, you do have an obligation just to send by paper mail, and that checks a big box, you still have to manage undeliverable. And here's where it gets really complicated.
If
It's
you
not
know,
defined, huh?
if you know that it's undeliverable.
Well, that's the complication is that how do you know if it's undeliverable? And the answer to, and the complication there is not all mail that is undeliverable truly gets returned to sender. I can validate that because I send out millions of pieces of mail a year. All the return mail comes to me personally. I'm still the guy who picks up return mail, and my post office loves me, by the way. Talk about king cakes. I bring them king cakes. The and I pick up the return mail, and I can tell you that probably less than 60% of the mail that is undeliverable gets returned. I know it because I have USPS connections that show what's undeliverable, but I don't get that physical return. So there's a lot of complications there when it comes to it. There's a second part of this conversation also, which is there's compliance and there's doing the right thing. And I think that those can both be taken care of. And remember, the vision of a notice is not just as simple as I sent it to check the box. The reason you're sending out a lot of notices is so that the participants in the plan or the eligibles who could participate are getting education about the plan. Now, we understand that a lot of these notices are more complex than they need to be, but they do say important things. So I mean, think about if you have a fund change that's taking place and it could be or even better yet, a blackout notice that's identifying that they're not going to have access to their plan. If that goes out and you can't get it into the right hands, you are putting that participant in a negative circumstance. So there's both aspects of it that we really work to check. We look at our job as not only doing it compliantly, but also making sure that communication is getting to everyone.
I want to add, okay, so for our viewers and listeners out there, yes, you are listening to an impassioned conversation at the geek level about participant notices. This is why the 401 couple exists. Thank you, Michael. We ain't done yet. Okay. I'll do this one, Kevin, and then you can do the next one. So thank you, Michael, in all seriousness. Walk us through, and how many, what are we up to, number 6 or 7 here?
I think that's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 6.
Oh, 6. Okay. Walk us through the missing participant problem. How does something as straightforward? Oh, also, by the way, before we get to that, I'm presuming all that paper stuff that's supposed to be done, that's just part of your service, right?
That's all part of the service.
Okay. Thought so. Just wanted to make that super clear. How does something as straightforward as a notice become a tool for finding people before they are truly lost? And this is not an existential question. This is a where the heck are they question.
So notices act as one of our few touch points with a participant in a 401k plan, especially a terminated participant in a 401k plan. And so being able to reach out to them to communicate and being able to track that if I send it electronically, that I know that they received it and opened it. If I send it by text message, which by the way, we believe we're the only service that utilizes text to send out notices. And on a quick caveat, I like to tell people I have a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old, and they don't read emails and they absolutely don't read first class mail. So if you want to communicate to them, a text message is key. And we've all learned that the millennials are the soon to be the largest group in the workforce. So
I
we
want to
think
figure out how to do annual notices by emoji, and I'm not kidding.
that's
Okay,
there you
seriously.
go. Avatar, emoji might be hard. Avatar we can do. And then the last piece is the first class mail. But when we're sending it out and we're trying to make sure we have a touch point, it allows us to validate that we are reaching that person. Another key aspect that we do that we think is different than most of the industry is we don't bundle our notices and send them all at one time. We believe in sending the notices as they become available. That is for two reasons. One is because when somebody gets a 60-page booklet in the mail, they don't read any of it. We're lucky if they read a 10-page booklet, but they definitely don't read a 60-page booklet.
Mhm.
The second reason why is that I really want to touch that person multiple times through the year, because now I'm going to really geek out. The United States Postal Service, their forwarding address system has a 6-month window to it. So if a person moves in February and they set up their forwarding address, and in November you go send an annual notice packet to them and you send it to their old address because they didn't update it, it's not getting forwarded to them. It's actually going to go to their old address, and if there's a mailbox there, it's getting put in the mailbox, and that to the wrong person. And unless that person writes on that piece of mail, return to sender, it's getting put in the trash. So
Hold on a second. You've been saying a very key phrase here, and I thought you're just using filler, but you've been saying first class mail. This is not bulk mail. So
no,
the Postal Service will forward this or return it or whatever if there's some kind of notification on it, right?
that's right. That's right. As long as again that NCOA National Change of Address database is they're still in it, which is a 6-month period. So we're trying to touch the participant multiple times. That's why I like sending out a fee disclosure in February or March and an SAR in the middle of the year and the annual notices at the end of the year. By doing that, I am identifying missing participants because if I can't touch them at any point or if there's any point that I know they're getting returned, I can then identify them as missing and then follow all the correct processes.
Okay. Catherine?
So, you mentioned this the Department of Labor's 2021 Best Practices Guidance raised the bar on what reasonable participant communication looks like. You even submitted a public comment to the Department of Labor on missing participant regulations in 2024. What are you watching at the regulatory level, and what should plan sponsors and advisors be paying attention to?
I think that there's a lot of information that is left very vague in a lot of the Department of Labor processes, systems, guidances, or regs. You mentioned that I made a request to the Department of Labor. My request to them was, can they help me define what a missing participant really is? Because there is no definition
There
for
isn't?
it. No, they, I
I just
define
assumed
it.
there was.
Yeah, no, I define it as someone who I'm not able, that I can't get any kind of communication to, but there is no true technical definition. Um, you know, when I talk to plan sponsors regarding noticing, if they say, you know what, we're not going to utilize your service, my recommendation is you should write up your own communication policy and define how you're going to send your notices, who you're going to send them to, and who a missing participant is, and define that. I even give them. I have a communication policy that we wrote with our ERISA counsel, the Wagner law firm, and they can take mine and write their own from it if they want. But when it comes to the Department of Labor and the regs, I'm really, really interested in seeing if they're willing to fill any of these gaps, which include A, are we going to define who a missing participant is? Because now we have this lost and found that the Secure Act created, but I don't know who should go there because I don't know who is technically missing or not. And then secondly, there's a lot of, again, you mentioned there's a lot of rules out there when it comes to paper delivery or electronic delivery that, could be simplified in a lot of ways. May hurt my business some if it gets too simple because others, then all of a sudden people could do it. But at the same time, it would make the industry a better place as if it was very clear, understandable, and what people needed to do to fulfill communication.
Okay. Now, I know the name of the company is Plan Notice, right? Okay. It's not paper statement, but we've got this paper statement rule coming up down the pike. Okay. Is that going to be part of your normal service if you can figure out a way to do that with the record keepers?
So record keepers like to do the statements, and I'm more than happy to let them keep doing their statements because my belief is when I send notices, I'm able to clean up their roles and make sure that the statements are getting to the right spot. We do have the ability to do statements. We've been asked that multiple times, especially in non-record kept situations like pooled accounts or cash balance or things that need to send out statements that are more complicated for record keepers to do or sitting in just aggregated or in one investment account. So we can support that and do that. We have looked at the statement business. I will tell you that I think that is more niche for us than it will be
Okay.
core. It'll be at need because there's a couple of big guys in the industry who've spent a lot of time and know how to do that, and I sort of feel like let them do it.
Okay. Do you only do defined contribution plans or do you do notices for defined benefit plans like cash balance plans?
We we do. Our I like to tell TPAs and plan sponsors that if we're working on a defined contribution plan, we believe we can take 95% of the burden off of you, because there's a centralized census database to pull from. There's a place where notices go. It's very easy for us to grab everything, send it, communicate it back. When we do defined benefit plans, we believe we take 60% of the burden off, because we still need help in those cases, because the data is not in a central spot for us to go get census data, or if there's statements, again, in those cases that we need to get. So we have to ask for more help there. We can still fulfill it, we can still track it, we can still be transparent, but we're not quite as efficient when it comes to the initial part of the process.
All right. There's a whole other segment I want to get to, but we've got one more quick question. So I'm going to be very mean to you, Michael, and ask for a short answer. Okay. Sorry.
Go
Okay.
for it.
You offer indemnification against notice-related cost. That's an unusual commitment. What does that tell us about how confident you are in the process you've built?
We know that we send notices at a level higher than anyone else in the industry does. And we will go to bat with anybody who tells us that we didn't do it correctly.
Okay. Segment 3, Katherine.
Okay, so the fun topic of the year, AI, participant engagement, and the future of plan communications. So AI is becoming a major topic across financial services. What are you actually using AI for today at Plan Notice? Not the vision, but what's live and working right now.
So what is working right now, and you're hearing this first on your show.
Ooh, breaking news.
is so maybe this is future. At ASPA or prior to ASPA, we will release, about a year ago, we betaed the simplification of notices through the utilization of AI and avatars, where what we did is we took notices and we created executive summaries of the notices in understandable plain English, and we had them converted and used avatars as spoken word to explain these notices to participants. And I like to explain the specific notice, not general, like this, you have a notice, look at it, but specifically, this is a qualified default investment account notice. This is what it does. We will be releasing that on all notices that we send. We have built the software where now every notice that we send through will be summarized and will be converted into verbal word so that it can explain it. Because we believe that the part of the best practice that the DOL released that is not discussed is that notices need to go out and they need to be understandable. And we think this makes them understandable. To add to that,
Yeah, 300-page notice on your QDIA is just not helpful.
That it's not helpful, and it's scary to the normal
40-second
person.
description on an avatar saying, "Hey, this is what this means." That's going to have value.
That's exactly right. And what makes it even better is because of the advancements of AI, and because we have some brilliant developers helping us within our system. Not only will it go out with those summaries, but those summaries will be available in multiple languages, all as part of the solution. So that's what we're rolling out, and we're utilizing AI. We've got a lot of future ideas that we can use it for, but this is our first big
Sounds good, Michael.
release.
Where do you see AI? I'm wondering if this is still a separate question because of how you answered the other one. Where do you see AI genuinely helping plan communications, and where, more importantly, should caution remain?
So I'm going to answer that question, but the last pair of glasses I brought with me are the ones that people have to tell me if they love them or hate them, because these are wild. So the color's not wild, but the shape is wild. So these are a little funky, okay?
Oh my goodness.
These
I
are
got Ocean's
natural
11
buffalo horn. They're
Yeah.
natural buffalo horn, and they're all, you can't even, I don't know if you can see, they're all bumpy and rigid. So my wife does not like them. She tells me not to wear them. So, but for this, I had to go bold.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. All right.
Look, I don't see it close well enough to do it, but you did get a big thumbs up from our producer.
You got, yeah.
Okay. So to your question, here is our belief of what AI is going to do to our industry. We believe that AI provides for hyper customization. And I am stealing that word from Brian Danos, my business partner, who is a big believer in this. He believes that the future of communication through the use of AI is going to be able to we will be able to aggregate enough data that, as opposed to communication going out saying, plan for retirement, it's going to say, Michael, you're 51 years old and you have blank saved in your account. How can we help you get to this?
That might be the right
And
number. Yeah.
and that is where this becomes, it goes from phase one is making notices understandable to phase two, making the industry customized and easy to utilize, because we know 90+% of the people who participate in a 401k plan don't have great financial advice. They are doing it, with hope as their strategy, and they need the help that they can that AI will provide to them.
Okay. So 2.0, and before it gets to 3.0, Secure 2.0 is expected to get the number of 401k plans up to, well, at least retirement plans up to over 1 million in the next couple of years. Is the industry infrastructure ready for that?
I think it's improving. I think that there are more and more service providers that are now, I think, being more embraced by the industry to help make the process more efficient, to make the systems better, and to help improve, the efficiencies needed to be able to handle this. One of the I'm going to get on a small soapbox for a second. One of the things I am concerned about, and this has always been an issue with our industry, is I don't think that plan sponsors give our industry enough credit for the amount of work that we do. And I don't think that I think that they fear our costs in a way that is confusing to me. I was once told that, a company will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to support health insurance, and they'll fight you tooth and nail over a $2,500 bill for a 401k.
$100 bill.
$100 bill. So I think that is one of the areas that we as an organization, or as an industry, need to continue to try to. It's a slow process to evolve, but to evolve, we can't live by just being more efficient. We have to find ways to become more profitable also. But in general, I think there's enough infrastructure out there to support the growth in the industry. We just have to keep embracing what we all do well.
Okay. And now, closing. Michael, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. I've had so many conversations with you face to face, and for some reason, so much is now making sense. Maybe it's the king cake adding to the brain power. I don't know.
That's what it is.
I
I
was
have to
sugar
bring a king
deprived
cake
all
from
our
now
other
on.
conversations.
You needed
Okay?
some
Yeah,
carbohydrate.
and you just had boring glasses before. Now then,
Never. I don't think I've ever met him with boring glasses. No.
what now? Turnabout is fair play. What is one question you would like to leave for the next guest on this podcast? It does not need to be related to finance.
Okay, so when I was in college, I was part of a fraternity, and whenever we did Rush, my favorite question to ask a freshman, because you could see their face would drop like crazy, was to ask them. I want you to ask the next guest, if you were a sandwich, what sandwich would you be and why?
Not your favorite one to eat, the sandwich.
Yeah, I know. I mean, normally for everybody else that has asked this question, I've always had an instant answer. And now I'm like,
sandwich would I be?
because my favorite sandwich is a BLT, but I don't know that I want a BLT. And I'm going, for some reason, I'm going to bratwurst with a crispy roll and sauerkraut. I have no way. It's the German mother speaking to me. It's all I can say.
I don't know.
So that was always my
do that
favorite
hot
question
dog
to ask a freshman. You ask a freshman that, and they
Don't
don't
go
know how to
Freudian
answer
on me,
that
dear.
question.
She's trying to go Freud. All right.
I'm saying some people would say a hot dog is not a sandwich, and they might say that true about a breakfast. It's an unacceptable
All
answer.
right, Huntsman cheese, a nice white bread, and some Branston pickle. That'll confuse people. Now then, Michael, this has been a blast. Thank you so much. Where can listeners follow your work and stay up to date on what you are covering and doing?
Yep. So our website is plannotice.com. It gives you the basics of what we do. We attend just about every conference that's out there that at least the big ones. So we're usually available. We're always open for one-on-one conversations. I will admit we are not the best at constantly updating what's going on within our company. That's an area we can improve on. But David Hawash, our national sales director, is great on LinkedIn. So if you want to see where we are and what we're doing, David's probably the person to follow. And not to mention an incredible relationship person and a great part of the industry.
And I have a marketing conference for Mackenzie to go to next year. So
That's
sway.
good. Let us, she is out there. She is handling all of our training. That's her new big role.
Yep.
She's teaching everybody about our systems and how to maximize them.
There we go.
Fantastic.
All right, Michael, thank you very much.
you.
This has been a blast. We've been trying to get this one together for such a long time. I appreciate you wanting us to come find you and meet you when we were in New Orleans. That just did not work out. But because we got a king cake shipped to us and all this stuff, I like being in the same room with you. But this is very cool. So thank you very much, Michael. Take care.
Well, this was terrific. I really appreciate what y'all do. You're incredible at educating the entire industry, and you're a lot of fun to talk to, even not about the industry. I love to hear the stories. So thank you so much for everything y'all do.
All right. So for our viewers and listeners out there, this is the 401 Couple. We're available. This is what on not Shopify, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. We're everywhere. And if you need to email us something specific for a question, sales@hunterbenefits.com. And if you'd like to email me a question about Plan Notice, I'd be very happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you. We're very happy with what Plan Notice is doing. Thank you very much, everybody. Looking forward to. We don't know who our next guest is. Nope. But to be determined. Thank you very much.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.